I was convinced that teachers were testing us just to torture us, just because they enjoyed seeing us in a stressful situation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hebah and this is Hebah's Rollercoaster. Guys, as you might notice, today's setting is a bit more relaxed, a bit more chill, and the reason is that I was looking through my channel and I noticed that I haven't really shared that much personal stuff. So I thought in order to make this channel a bit more personal, in order to make you get to know me a bit more and to have an insight into who I am and how I think, I could make a bit of a story time video where I talk about why I actually became a teacher and tell you about my journey to becoming a teacher. So, my journey on becoming a teacher actually started in elementary school. Obviously, that was the first school that I ever went to, and so thinking back to my time in elementary school, I remember that I actually really enjoyed going to school. So you know these kids who at the end of their holidays or at the end of their weekend would cry because they'd have to go back to school? Well, I was never that kid, so I was really happy to go to school. I loved the school environment, I loved my classroom, my teachers, and I was really into just learning and exploring and discovering and experimenting. And I think that was the time that I also realized that but the time in which I developed my love for helping others to do the same. So I really enjoyed assisting other kids in exploring and discovering and learning as well. So I really enjoyed school, but I also have to say that I was really good at school. So I was a quick learner and I was also very stubborn. So whenever I didn't really understand something, I was super stubborn and I really wanted to work on that thing that gave me a hard time. So that was, I guess, my character back then already, and it has kind of stuck with me up until now. It was also in elementary school that I didn't just develop a love for learning, but also a love for explaining what I've learned to others. And many of my teachers actually made use of that and made me assist other children in learning and explaining something and helping them, and that's also something that kind of stuck with me throughout my first years of education. So I was always the kid helping the others, explaining something, assisting, etc. And I'm pretty sure that the fact that I was often given that role by my teachers had a huge impact on the fact that even today I really enjoy sharing my knowledge and my skills with others. However, by the time I got to like 7th or 8th grade, I remember that my obsession with having good grades and being a good student got to a level that wasn't really that healthy anymore. I felt constant pressure and I felt like I always had to prove myself through my grades. I need to mention that that was also around the time when I started wearing my hijab, my headscarf, and you know how it is, you're a teenager, you're trying to find your identity, you're trying to understand who you are, who you want to be, and it's really difficult and you feel like you have to prove yourself. And I think back then I felt like wearing the headscarf, wearing the hijab was going to result in people seeing me differently, and so I would have to prove that I was still intelligent and good enough by having good grades. Obviously today, from my teacher's perspective, I have to tell you guys that even though we as teachers have to give grades, grades do not define your worth. They do not. They're just a means that we use in education to kind of level things and to put a label on things, basically. But someone is not more intelligent or less intelligent because they have a better or worse grade. But I'm just telling you that to know that even though I'm a teacher now, I went through that exact same thing. I thought that it was important to have good grades and that that would prove that I was good enough, that I was intelligent, that I was hardworking, etc. It was also during that teenage time that I eventually shifted from loving school to not hating it, but not enjoying it as much as I did before. So I didn't hate school, but I hated what it did to me. As I've mentioned before, it's that time in which you're trying to find your identity, you're trying to understand who you are, who you want to be. Your body is changing, your mind is changing, your character is changing. You're trying to be popular and cool and have friends. And then there's so much pressure to achieve all of that. And then there's school, and you have to go through tests and exams and have good grades because this is going to define the rest of your life. Or at least that's what I was thinking back then. So I just hated that there was so much pressure around me all the time. And I'm sure that lots of teenagers, even today, feel that same pressure. And so I hated that I felt like school was only adding to that pressure. I felt like having to take exams and tests and all of that and proving yourself through grades was just adding up to all of that pressure. So I didn't really like that, environment anymore. Also because back then I felt like school was getting more and more demanding, and I felt like teachers and principals were only interested in testing and doing exams. And to be honest with you, I was convinced that teachers were testing us just to torture us, just because they enjoyed seeing us in a stressful situation. Now, being a teacher myself, I have learned that teachers hate making exams as much as students hate taking exams. So both sides actually don't really like exams and tests and stressful situations. So that's a misconception that I had for many years, and in case you had that misconception, I hope that me telling you that will help you kind of get rid of it, because believe me, even we teachers hate exams and tests. But unfortunately, that's how the school system works, and that's how the educational system and the educational field kind of agreed on trying to regulate things and making sure that students do actually learn and study and revise all of the things that we teach them. So unfortunately, that's how the system works. Anyways, going back to my story, so by the time I finished school, I was really happy with everything that I had learned. I was really grateful, but I felt like I didn't want to become a teacher anymore. So for many years, I was still considering becoming a teacher. I was still thinking about what it would be like if I was a teacher, because I had bad experiences with teachers, of course, but then I thought, well, maybe I could make a change, maybe I could be the exception, maybe I could be the good teacher, maybe I could be the one that the students will like and have a good relationship with. So for a few years I was still considering becoming a teacher, and mainly because I thought I could be, different in a way. But then by the time I finished school, I was in a place where I felt like that's the school system, that's the education system. I'm just one person. What am I going to be doing differently? So I decided to go into a different direction. And I actually started studying translation studies. But the thing about translation or interpreting is that you are kind of transferring what someone else said into a different language, culture, etc., and then vice versa, which is really interesting. And actually I'm really happy that I studied that, and I would love to, take on projects in that direction as well every now and then. But I realized that, it's you transferring what someone else said, and obviously you do have an impact on how it's transferred, how it's translated, etc., but it's still what somebody else produced originally. And I was still, even though I was studying translation studies, I remember I was still thinking about what it would be like if I ever became a teacher. So I still had that dream somehow, or I still had that imagination. So after a while, I just decided to go to the teaching center and to have a look at some of the lectures and just see what it feels like to listen to professors talking about what it's like to become a teacher. So I did that, and I actually enrolled in Sunday classes, and then I got stuck. I loved it so much, and I think it was at university that I kind of realized why I loved learning so much and why I loved the school environment so much. So I feel like university reminded me of that initial love that I had developed in elementary school, and kind of reminded me why I wanted to become a teacher for so long, and why I wasn't admitting it to myself, and why it was so difficult to admit it to myself. And I realized it was because I was constantly looking at the things that I thought weren't working correctly, or because I was constantly focused on the things that I thought made school bad or made school difficult. But I wasn't really focusing on the things that made me love school in the beginning. And I think it really helped me that I didn't really go into teaching and the teacher's program right after graduating from school. I think it really helped me that I studied something else first, and then realized that I still miss that one part, that I was still thinking about what it would be like if I became a teacher. What would it be like if I ever stood in a classroom, not as a student, but as a teacher. So I think it really helped me that I had that break, and that I kind of reflected on what it really was that I wanted, even though I couldn't really admit it to myself. So to some degree, it might seem a bit sad that the things that I went through throughout my teenage years, including, bullying and the pressure of having friends, the pressure of being cool, the pressure of having good grades. I was sad that these things kind of drove me away from becoming a teacher, but at the same time, I was really glad that that happened, that I had my break, and that I could kind of think about the fact that these problems might still exist, but that I could maybe have an impact and try to help teenagers today, students today, to get through these problems, because I have been through them. I know what it feels like, and maybe kind of taking these experiences, these learning experiences, so talking as a teacher now, and trying to kind of put them into my work as a teacher, hopefully, to help students get through their school years, get through their teenage years, and get through all of these problematic situations. I believe that these problems still exist. Probably they will always exist, and I believe that it will always be kind of difficult to be a teenager, to be a student, as well as it will be difficult to be a teacher as well. However, I think instead of focusing, and that's what I did initially, instead of focusing on the things that are wrong or incorrect, or the things that don't work as one thinks that they should work, I think it's important to think about how you could make an impact. And I have told you before that I was thinking, well, I'm only one person. Well, sometimes it all starts with just one person, And of course, there will be other people who might think the same. Maybe you haven't met these people yet, but maybe they want to change something too. And I'm sure that there are lots of teachers out there who know about these problems, who want to help their students, who want to help the teenagers and younger students as well to get through these years and through these problems. So today I'm really happy that I can hopefully make use of these experiences and help my students not only learn English and Spanish grammar and vocabulary maybe, but also learn how to grow as a person, how to find yourself, how to become the best version of yourself, and to kind of understand what path you want to take for the rest of your life. So I have decided to become a teacher because it hurts me to see that people have forgotten that school is a place where you not only learn about English, Spanish, geography, history, math, etc., but also a place where you grow and you learn and you become your own individual personality. School shapes us, students and teachers, and that really fascinates me. So I wanted to be part of that. You know, sometimes it's just so beautiful when a student comes to me and they tell me about their weekend or their favorite sport or their favorite food or anything really, because it gives you the feeling that they trust you, they want to talk to you, they enjoy talking to you, they might even look up to you. And that is just the most beautiful feeling in the world. To give a shorter answer to that question, why did I become a teacher? Well, I became a teacher because as a teacher, you don't just teach, but you also help, you support, you encourage, you motivate, you accompany somebody through stages of their life. You watch someone grow and develop, and you become part of that growth and development. So, as a teacher, you don't just teach, you educate. And I think that's what I love so much about being a teacher, that I get to be an educator as well. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I had so much more to say about this topic, but I wanted to keep it short. However, if there's anything else you want to know, anything specific about teaching or being a teacher or about me, you can ask me in the comments below. Also, let me know what profession you have and what you thought of your teachers in school. I would be interested to read all of your comments. If you have any requests or ideas for future videos, also let me know in the comments below. Other than that, take care, and I'm gonna see you on Monday with another video. Assalamu alaikum.